Hello to the Wide Flank world.
We got to welcome Sean, who's now official Wide Flank host, co-host, member, squad member. What's up,
Yo,
Sean?
squad.
Squad up.
Squad.
Sean, you want to tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Hi. What's up, Wide Flank people? My name's Sean, and I'm a Pisces, and I used to host a podcast. Here's my credentials, both as a podcaster and a gamer. I am not legit? A game... Huh?
Are you legit?
I'm legit. I'm as legit as the day is long. I was going to loudly and reflexively say, I am not a game designer. But, you know, Alon, you and I have already talked about this. That's like, what is it to design a game? Is listing a bunch of cards in a spreadsheet, is that game design?
I feel like your shots fired at me.
Oh, well, I mean, they're supposed to be supportive, though.
It's the morning.
Yeah.
Stop shooting shots at me. Holy smokes.
Sure. It's too bright. It's too early.
There's a bunch of birds out my window, though, that are really distracting. So
yeah,
they're flankers. They're official wide flankers.
Whether they like it or not. The natural world is just beholden to the whims of the strange creations of humanity, including games. But yeah, no, whatever. I'm really diving into like, what is game design? But it's like, I don't have an itch.io page, whatever. Not the point. The point is that I have podcast credentials, I have musical credentials, and I have gaming credentials. And my gaming credentials, I used to host a podcast named Papa Squash with a friend who now lives in Texas. So, and
so the implications.
So yeah, I mean, the show ended long before they moved to Texas. Not the point. The point is, I'm a Nintendo baby. I love Nintendo games. The philosophies of Miyamoto, Aonuma, Koizumi, Kezka, even the mighty Gunpei Yokoi. So I like Nintendo stuff, but I also really love Unreal Tournament, Epic Games, Cliffy B, Fortnite.
He's got it all, folks.
I've got it all.
That's Sean.
And Sean's happy to be. Sean's happy to be part of Wide Flank. What were you saying, Alon?
I was just going to say, we got this new structure that we're trying to push the show towards. We're going to keep doing game clubs, but we're going to try and do one game club a month. So one episode per month should be a game club. Another episode a month is going to be this, GLHF. It's in the future is going to be Patreon only content, but basically we're going to play less than 2 hours of the next game club game. In this case, Return of the Obra Dinn, and just spit raw first impression takes of the game, very loosey-goosey, like this episode. Patreon.com/wideflank for those. And then what we're going to try and do for the normal feed, non-Patreon, is just weekly episodes. So I mentioned one will be Game Club.
I'm going to have to stop you there. If you're watching the video version of this program, you may have noticed I'm in a different location than the start of the video. That's because I'm looking to bring a little bit of a chaotic energy to Wide Flank going forward.
And your Wi-Fi's bad in the other room.
My Wi-Fi is not good.
The real reason.
It's literally the furthest place in my apartment from the Wi-Fi router. It's where I talked. I mean, should I talk about therapy on the podcast? Why not?
You can.
I take therapy in that seat. Furthest place from the Wi-Fi router in my apartment. The therapy gets all chunked up. And then I have to tell my therapist that he's looking a little chunked up. And then he makes a joke about like, yeah, I guess I have put on some weight. And I have to be like, yeah.
Anyway, that's Sean.
Good Lord.
That's Amore. So there's a new structure flying at you flankers from the Wide Flank LLC. We're going to try and do an episode a week. Only one of those is going to be a game club. We can't play an entire game per week. The other episodes are kind of a work in progress. We're going to talk to devs. We're going to talk about random stuff we like, whatever. Shorter, not like 2-hour, really hyper-focused Game Club episodes. Stay tuned for those. Also, this episode, a GLHF, a Good Luck Have Fun episode, is going to be future Patreon content. Basically, we're going to play under 2 hours of whatever the next Game Club game is. In this case, Return of the Obra Dinn. And it's just going to be sort of our raw first impressions, first takes of the game. So finally doing some Patreon content. So that's cool. Patreon.com/wideflank. I want to stop talking about it now, though. I want to talk about Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh.
What do you want to talk about?
So do I.
How long did you play? How much did you play?
I played an hour 55.
Okay. You got like 50 minutes on me. I stopped a little bit after an hour. That's fine. Right. That's fine.
To that point, let's identify then what's like the last thing you saw in your gameplay experience.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking. I was about to say thinking out loud, but it's the opposite. I'm thinking the normal way that people think in my head.
Inside.
Yeah, I'm thinking in quiet instead of out loud. Like, do we need to be spoiler conscious on these kind of episodes? Because most people probably will not have started playing the game. And then like since we're not like synced up exactly in the same area, we might spoil for each other. Should we just talk about the other stuff with the game and not like the plot?
No. You ever see those movie trailers that are just like the first 3 minutes of the movie?
Yeah. Well, every movie trailer now is like, here's every funny joke from our bad 1 hour movie.
And then when you're watching the movie, it's like the joke hits and it doesn't even hit like a joke. It just hits with like
Oh, yeah, I remember that part in the trailer. Yeah.
I loved that.
I hate it. I hate those trailers.
What's happened to the movie industry?
Tell me about it. But yeah, okay. So I was just cruising around the ship, checking out dead bodies with my pocket watch.
Yeah,
going, flying back in time, reenacting the moment of their death, and then freezing time, which is like so cool. Like,
and then the music cue goes ba da da.
I love. All the music cues in the game feel really in theme and nice to me.
I think, yeah, if not like the most like thrillingly composed, I think they tend to be like super, super effective.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the sound palette like works really, really well with like the visual aesthetic and like it sets the tone for the moments because like the game. This is a game of like moments, right? Like
frozen in time.
Yeah, like quite literally.
What would you call it? It's like a mystery. It's sort of like it's like really funny playing this after Ocarina because after Majora's because we were talking about like sort of point and click adventures. Like what's similar to the Mask Quest was Hayden's question. We were like, oh, maybe like point and click adventures, and this game is sort of point and click adventure mystery.
I'd say this game is like it's highly character driven mysteries. Like it's already because we've only played 2 hours of it, but already what I'm starting to glean is like it's less about like what happened and more about like who did whatever happened happened to. Yeah. So I think it is like Majora's Mask, like it is highly character driven puzzles, which is very exciting.
It's nice to play them back to back and sort of be like, oh yeah, I'm in the zone. Like this is the stuff I liked and want to care about, and I'm still caring. But yeah, I guess for those who haven't played it at all, I mean, you basically have you're on like a ship in like the 1800s, I think, and you're basically filling out a book of what happened to everyone on the ship and who everyone is, right?
Yeah, I've got a highfalutin perspective on it, which is, are you familiar with the concept of the epistolary?
No.
It's a type of book that, like a type of novel writing style that, if you've ever read Dracula is a book that's presented. We're going Dracula mode on this one, folks.
It. Never read it. Love it.
It's from like the late 1800s, and the way that the book is organized is it's like a series of primary source materials. Like it's like letters or diary entries, and that's what an epistolary is. It's like a book that's comprised of like, no, this is what someone in the world of the book wrote.
I see. That's cool. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
So you go around, and as you uncover events and stuff, the book kind of like fills in information. Once you've like completely seen something or learned something, the book kind of fills in itself around the event with some missing data, right? It'll be like unknown is killed with unknown in this event, and you can like fill it in with the person's name if you figured out what their name is, and fill in like how they died if you know how they died.
To make a cheeky little joke, it's very Clue.
Yeah,
it's very Clue in that way.
It's point and click mystery, point and click Clue adventure game. Like it's like, yeah, who killed who, how, when, where, what was the order of operation?
Let me put it to you this way: it's Clue for grown-ups.
Yeah, it's
finally.
Sick. Finally, it's
but
so
truly,
sick.
But yeah, it's I'm like already. We had initially talked when we were planning these types of episodes about whether these should be like testing grounds for like. Yeah. We ain't gonna play more than 2 hours of this one, folks. But that remains to be seen.
Like, it was gonna be like a yay or nay show of like, should we game club this? And then it's just like thumbs down. We're not game clubbing it. Oh, but like, nah.
There's a phrase that comes up pretty often in like shitty games criticism that's like, this one could have used a little more time in the oven.
Okay.
And I was going to say, like, thumbs down. Put this one back in the oven, boys. Not a well-made game.
We're not doing that.
That's not the goal here.
That's not wide flank.
That ain't what wide flank's about. But I only brought it up to invoke, like, if we were still following that convention, this one would be an easy yay.
Oh, my, it's just like, easy.
This game is so much about like steadily like learning new information. Like there's so much up front kind of that's like, whoa. But at the same time, I could pop off about this game already. 2 hours in, I could pop off about this game.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. It's very curious. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
And there's like mysteries within mysteries.
It's like a little overwhelming once you start uncovering like, oh my God, I'm in the Doom chapter and there's so much stuff happening and there's so many dead bodies. And I'm like, I'm trying to. Yeah. You kind of get like wormholed into like, oh, I'm in this story that leads to this, that leads to this, that leads to this. And you're just like, oh my God, I can't even stop.
That totally resonates with my experience thus far, which has been like, I'm trying to figure out how linear the game is, which like, thus far, it's been like pretty just like do this, then follow this like little ghost, then do this.
Yeah.
And initially I was just like, no, like I want it to be more open-ended. Like, I don't want to just summon the ghost. But now I'm getting to a point where it's like, oh no, I think the reality of this game is like eventually you'll get to a point where it'll open up more into like you choosing what to focus on.
I actually do find the UI a little bit confusing because like you can go into the book. So if you've already seen a memory, it's in the book, and then you can go into the book and like click on, the captain or whatever. And it's like, 3 memories with, that he's in or something. But I haven't really figured out how do I like use these bookmarks to like go to the memory? Can I like go back to the point in time where they're frozen, or do I have to like go find their corpse again to go back in time? So, but I think that like you said, like we're kind of doing the linear part is like layer 1. And then I think what my guess is going to be like layer 2 is like, wait, okay, I know all the like not connected parts of this story, and now I need to like start putting it together. Is going to be like layer 2. So you are going to go back to these moments and be like, oh, this is what's happening, and like kind of like piece it together.
Totally. Like one of my last notes at the end of like the 2-hour session was like, I still don't understand the utility of bookmarking memories.
Yeah, I don't understand how it works.
But then I thought it out a little bit more. Like maybe it's later game stuff to quickly compare and make connections between.
That's what I think.
I think it's at a certain point we're going to be like cross-referencing different characters, and it's not even just the characters and their memories. There's also like the map with locations, and the map shows where you're standing with like a feet icon. So it's like, oh, okay, and like. So I think the game, as linear as it is up front, it's like it has to be, because the actual amount of information in the game, I think, is like maybe even beyond like what we're starting to like imagine.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's just teaching us like how to navigate the book. Yeah. And then we're going to start playing the game once we've like kind of seen all of the events, maybe out of order, and because it even kind of like teases it to you at the beginning. It's like you're gonna have to make guesses on some people's identities. Yeah. And you're gonna have to like just like, you know, use very limited, not clear, direct information to make a guess, and like put 2 and 2 together. So like so far it's really linear, and the guesses so far are very obvious, right? It's like he called him captain, and I'm like, oh, that's the captain, you know?
Another
like,
character says to a different character, just, you've been stabbed with a knife.
Exactly. Like, but then there's all these other dudes who are just in the frame, who are just like, that random guy standing in the back of the photo, like, who is this guy? And like that's gonna be tricky, you know?
Right. Like even in the first encounter with the captain, like shooting the whoever, like there's a guy that you can see like sneaking his way behind the captain.
Yeah.
But then as you're going, it's like you can't pull a fast one over on the captain. Like the
captain for a reason.
Yeah. And before we move on from that notion about like certainty in the game, kind of, that you referenced kind of briefly, I was trying to find a quote that it's like the game literally says to you, this may or may not be correct.
Yes. Like the game, God, with the whodunit stuff, right? I forget what it's called already. Yeah.
Wait, which whodunit stuff? What do you mean?
Like I filled in, you know, so and so was killed by like getting crushed by a ship's rigging. And then like a pop-up appears and is like, this may or may not be right. But if you get 3 right, then the book will like permanently fill itself out. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, because I eventually got 3.
Wait, are you serious? You got 3? Because I was at a point, like, I have not solved anything really.
I got 3 already.
You got 3
You
already?
don't know who the captain shot?
I don't know who the captain shot.
Eye roll.
Yeah,
pay attention, maybe for once
the audio,
in your life.
For the audio listeners, Alon just dramatically rolled his eyes at me like I'm a effing moron.
That's a clip. Yeah. So you get 3, and then you know how it's in like so and so is killed by the ship falling on them or whatever.
Yeah,
is in like a rectangle, almost like a comic book type of rectangle, you know what I mean, over the photo in the book.
Yeah, because you look at like 2 pages of the book, and like on the left, totally.
When
it's like
you get 3 right, it removes it from the rectangle and writes it in the book, like it's officially in the book, because you've solved 3 people and how they died.
Whoa. Which is like kind of an interesting aesthetic choice, because it like the final thing that we're rendering is not like a game object. It's like the final thing we're rendering is a book, not like you're not gonna be able to zoom in
to someone else.
Sure. And dude, there's the detail that's like chapter 8 bargain. I won't tell you about that chapter until you give me the book.
This chapter will remain unknown until you fill the book and bring it back to me. I'm like, what? Who are you also?
Yeah, like I think that speaks to what I was saying about like there's mysteries within mysteries in this game, that it's just like there's so much to learn, and it's already within the first almost immediately it's like kind of pleasing in terms of like aesthetic and character. One thing that I flagged like very early on was like, oh, my character is rude. Like there was a moment where he's just like, bring that box up onto the ship, and the guy's like, how do you want me to do that, sir? And you're just like, carefully.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be this fucking snooty detective.
I think you're an elitist. Like, I think you're like, just some sort of Sherlock adjacent. Like, I'm from the big city. You don't know shit, and let me just work and don't bother me kind of person. Like, And it is kind of a Sherlock-y game. I mean, obviously, like
Totally.
we said, mystery, but it is like you're showing up on this ship where like all of this shit has happened and like 50 plus people probably have died, and you're just walking around being very like, like if there's a body here, it must have been like this to this to this, and like putting it all together.
You're very much like going, and there is no like overt depiction of, I mean, I'm getting jammed up with this thought. It's the idea of the mind palace, because there's two things I want to say, which is like literally the player is going into their mind palace, best case scenario.
Yes.
And what I was getting jammed up about is like, is the game depicting going into the mind palace? Like, because it's not supernatural, or is it supernatural?
It might
like,
be.
I can't. I don't think that's the most interesting question in the world.
No. Well, we'll talk about that in the future game club, maybe when we know more. Yeah.
But yeah, the notion of it is very Sherlock. It is very deduction oriented.
Yeah.
And it affords you as player the space to like consider, like, so it's
the aesthetic of like, well, it already just looks amazing. I think we both knew that like it was going to look really unique and cool already, because every image surrounding the game has that same look, but
you can see that from a mile away.
And like enough that like my girlfriend sitting next to me was like, "Whoa, what are you playing? It looks so cool." And I'm like, right. But then also when you use your pocket watch to go, I guess we'll call it back in time or mind palace. We don't really know what it is yet.
The death realm.
To the remember death moment.
Yeah.
That's so cool too. Like just being able, just having like it kind of reminded me of Super Hot. Like you're just like, this moment is frozen in time with this guy's like neck being sliced open, and you can just walk around all of it. Like you're just like a fly on the wall, frozen in time, and being like, oh, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Like what's happening above deck? What's happening below deck? What's happening outside? What's happening inside? Like it's all just like, so it's so cool to be able to like look around like that.
Yeah, like so much of the pleasure of the game does come from just like being that fly on the wall and observing. And I think like I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm starting to sense like a certain amount of like, not friction, but like there's a relationship between like how linear is the game and how, I think I was saying this before, like how linear versus open is the game, or like how, because there is like a time element essentially in terms of like when you first open up your I've been calling it the skull compass.
They call it a pocket watch in the book. That's the only reason I call it.
They call it a pocket watch? Okay, because I started creating like a glossary of like, this is what I call the things in the game.
When you pick it up, it says like the memento mortem, and then it says in parentheses, remember death. And I'm like, in my notes, I'm like, this seems important. And then like later in the book, it says, use the pocket watch to determine the identity and fate of everybody on board. And I'm like, okay. So this is like your device of figuring everything out.
It's your special device. It's like an extension of like your character. Here's the list of things I have so far: skull compass, ghost mode, death scene. We don't have to be beholden to that, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
What were we actually talking about though?
I don't know.
Here's what I was talking about. It's that like there are moments where you pull out your pocket watch, I suppose we'll call it. You pull out your pocket watch, and then you go into like the initial death scene, and it has like pretty like elevated dramatic music.
Yeah.
But you only have like 30 seconds, a minute to evaluate before like the screen
closes in and then something else happens. Yeah, I actually didn't know if you were like, am I triggering that to happen? I think I kind of am. I think like the player is triggering those moments, because sometimes I would like be in a scene for a long time and like I'm like trying to figure stuff out and right click on stuff or whatever. And then like I walk around the corner and it triggers the closing in of
So maybe it is dependent upon like where the field of vision is focused.
So. Yeah.
And there's like an internal clock that's clocking like how long you're looking at XYZ. I've already complained about. I mean, complaint is a strong word, but I've already clocked it a few times in my notes of just like, I wish that it wouldn't fade out so fast.
Yeah.
And you do have time to like look again if you want to, but like the staging area of that like secondary looking experience is like different. It's like your hand is shaking and there's really intense music.
I don't know I guess we just don't know yet, like why that happens sometimes.
I think I don't know. I think it's maybe something about like the detective that you're playing, like getting freaked out.
Oh, okay.
Because the first time I clocked it, are we like saying overt? It's the first 2 hours of the game. Are we saying spoilers? It doesn't matter.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a pretty striking moment. I'll just say there's a pretty striking moment with a creature of some sort. That's all. A beast. The book uses the word beast. That was the first time, like when I was seeing that sequence, that's the first time I clocked like our detective's hand shaking, and I was like, oh yeah, like this is like actually like intense and frightening, not just like the captain has shot the first mate. Curious.
It's so well done. I mean, I haven't played Papers, Please. Have you played that?
For like a few hours 10 years ago.
I really want to check it out. I've always heard good things. And then Lucas Pope's new game is on that thing, Playdate, which I don't have. It looks cool and cute, and I want to see what. Go for it.
What? Finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm feeling an hour into this game that like I'm down with Lucas Pope, and I want to check out all of his games already.
Yeah, like how he's thinking about how design and characters and like people, because I think that is present in Papers, Please. It's like you're like looking at people's faces, you're like looking at their information, you're trying to make gamey choices based on like human input information. And I think the Playdate Mars, what's it called? Spaceport Mars? Is that what it's called?
Mars After Midnight.
Mars After Midnight. I think is also a game about like clocking people's truthiness and like their like how they present themselves and things like this.
Yeah, and it seems similar maybe to Papers, Please, but it's exclusively for this new console called Playdate.
Which this is why I got all giddy, because I own a Playdate, so I was like, yeah, I do.
Oh my god, you're the best.
I do.
You should have put that in your credentials at the beginning.
Hosted a podcast, owns a Playdate. Does not own a PlayStation 5. My computer is a motherboard from 10 years ago.
Oh, you're losing the audience now.
Sure.
It's so not legit.
Look, I subscribe to the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate that lets me stream games. Most super modern games I play, I just stream them, baby.
Love it.
They just put Neon White on Game Pass.
Love it.
Let's fucking go. Point is, though, is that the point is that I do have a Playdate, and I was planning on buying that new game and checking it out for the episode. And between you and me, Alon, hey, if you want to borrow my Playdate, give it a look. See,
yeah.
Let's schedule a Playdate. Okay. So you're down with Lucas Pope as a designer? Is like
I think so.
Identifying.
Early doors. I just think like all of the sort of things that I think that I care about are present and well done. Like the writing is really good, the aesthetics are really good, the story seems really interesting, the gameplay is fun and intriguing and mysterious, and I'm just like I just feel like, oh, I'm aligned with like how this dude's approaching his games just from this.
Totally. And like I think what I'm identifying in playing it is that like I'm showing some of my predilections for like I like a game that lets you just bonk around and do what you want to do. Like every game is essentially linear, like at the end of the effing day. But it's like because there are these highfalutin things that I totally vibe with you on, which is like meaningful game design decisions around character and aesthetic and world. Like not narrative as such.
It's not necessarily narrative, but like the world he's created with very few lines of dialogue and the look and the sound and everything is like, I'm in the world. I love this world, already.
And very few colors.
Very few colors. Did you hit the different monitors. I love that. Like
Yeah.
the menu itself is so cute and cool. Did you look at the different like mouse sensitivities?
Oh, it's perfect is the default setting.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what, you think you're gonna know what feels better in my game? Go for it.
I should have screenshot it. Oh yeah, here it is. It's so perfect is the default setting, and then if you go faster, it goes fast side of perfect, reasonably fast, unreasonably fast, and a parity of control. And if you go slower, it goes slow side of perfect, just slow, strugglish, and nearly motionless. Like that kind of flavor like just gets me. I'm just like, oh my god, I love this dude. Like everything's doing, and the color, the way you change color schemes is just different monitor types. Like the default is Macintosh, and there's like CRT and LCD and like all these different looks.
Did you choose a different one?
I was on LCD for a little bit because I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to do this because like I want the blacks to be like really deep and black. But
totally,
I kind of went back to Macintosh because I was like, I think this is how the game's supposed to look.
That was basically the thought I had too. Because like I don't remember what this game was called, but I played some like haunted horror game on like an Apple II or whatever when I was a kid, and this little creature would like run across the screen every once in a while.
Very scary.
But that was like hard black and white. So I was like, oh, this game is like clearly evoking like early computing, like representational stuff. But then I was like, okay, I'll play an LCD. But then I made the same choice that you did, which is like, oh, like it seems like the aesthetic goal of this is the browns of the Macintosh view. Like it's a very brown game.
I like that it gives you the other options, but that's like the iconic Obra Dinn look is like that color, right?
Yeah. Which also reflects just one more riff on the whole
one more. Go for it.
The brown zone is that like that color palette seems to vibe also with like the notion of like a book which has like yellowed pages or like brown binding, or it's just like earthy despite it being on the sea. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say we're around a half hour. I think that's like around the length we're going to try and keep these GLHF episodes in the future.
But I got more to say.
Well, you're going to have to listen to the Game Club in 2-3 weeks or whatever. First Monday in September, I think.
Yeah. Did you mention that we're going to be releasing weekly episodes of the show?
I think so, but you can say it again. Put it in your own words.
We're going to be releasing weekly episodes of the show. And it's going to be a diversity of like types of episodes.
Types of shows, which is like Game Club, for instance, or in the past has been a Now Playing, but I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but we're figuring it out. I don't think so either.
I'm going to say it live on mic. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. I think we realized that Now Playings are just game clubs.
They're just game clubs for games that just came out.
Yeah, they're just game clubs for new games. Yeah.
I think there was, on the older Now Playings, there was some space for like, it didn't have to be like, I've completed this game and here's what I think of it.
Still the case, right? Like I only played like 10 hours of Animal Well. I didn't play 30. Figure out every secret.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, the notion of 100% in games, that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah. But yeah, so GLHF is this, which again in the future will be Patreon. We're going to do some dev talks, as many as we can. We'll see how that goes, and some other stuff too. So, yeah.
Stay tuned. Thank you to Alon and the Wide Flank family for having me. That's my earnest, genuine sign off.
Of course, dude.
Happy
to have you. Happy gaming.
Happy gaming, but that's not the sign off. I mean, that's one sign off, but there was a different sign off that I proposed. Do you remember what it was?
No idea. Go, just
good luck.
Oh,
good luck.
Have fun. We're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Good luck.
I think it's so corny.
Good luck
and have fun.
Good luck.
Have fun. Have fun.
Who's to say?
Have fun.
It's a sign off because it's supposed to be the last thing you hear on the show.
Okay. So you do it one more time?
You do it.
Good luck.
Have fun.